Sports such as tennis, basketball or soccer often have games released every year, but it's not that often we see a rugby union game.
Indeed. It's been 4 years since the last one, but to coincide with the Rugby World Cup, which has just kicked off in New Zealand, HB Studios, who also developed the previous Rugby 08, has developed a new game.
Rugby World Cup 2011 is pretty much your standard licensed game. There's the World Cup tournament mode where you face off in pools of 5 for the Webb Ellis Trophy, a warm-up tour mode where you can travel to different regions of the world with your team to prepare for the actual World Cup, and an international friendly mode which provides single matches between teams. There are 20 teams to choose from, as well as a selection of stadiums from around the world.
Graphically, the game is a little bit lackluster to look at compared to other sports games of this generation. The crowd reactions are limited and the player models are a little bit mediocre. It's not ugly, but you do feel as though it's not on par with games like FIFA or NBA Live.
Gameplay includes a combination of button mashing and low-level tactics in a free-flowing arcade style of rugby. For anyone who's played previous rugby games from HB Studios, the control system will feel very familiar. There are set plays available, but I never really understood how to use them, so it was just more fun running around.
On the Welsh 22 now.
I had the biggest issue with the lack of a training mode. I mean, if you've never played a rugby game before, then you kind of just have to jump in and learn the controls. I mean, this meant constant switching to the menus to memorize buttons. It's not much fun.
The devs did include one in goal shootout mode, but it felt really out of place, and I would have much rather had a practice mode instead, especially if they included something to teach you how to use tactics or set plays.
Even if you know all the rules and control systems, the worst thing is that you can't change the default controls at all, which is very annoying for my robot scoops.
Yeah, so maybe you should get some opposable thumbs, Darren.
Or maybe you should get some new jokes.
Oh, sweet burn.
Well, at least I'm not wearing a soccer shirt in a Rugby Union review, and now you dropped your ball. It's all falling apart.
Oh, my ball.
I'll get it for you, Darren.
Oh, thank you.
There you go. So far, this game has been pretty average, but once you get into a match, it's quite fun. Like, ridiculously fun, actually. Especially when you're playing multiplayer with your friends, you tend to just forgive the graphics, the controls, and the match just takes over.
I agree, Hex. The multiplayer is really fun, and you almost don't expect it because this game is missing a lot of things that we've come to expect from other sports games. Even the stupid bits, like players not doing what you want them to do or missing tackles, actually works into the entertainment value of a match.
Although a couple of things did annoy me during the matches. It's infinitely easier playing offense than defense. Offensive players change direction too easily, which makes it hard to tackle, and the constantly switching camera can just make your head hurt.
I think none of these issues are a deal breaker, just occasionally frustrating. It's like the developer just didn't put enough thought into the little things, so the game feels a bit unpolished. However, there is one thing which might be a deal breaker for many of the Spallings out there.
Affirmative, Barjo. Rugby World Cup 2011 has only licensed 10 of the 20 teams in the competition, and the Australian and New Zealand teams are not included. This means that although you can still play as a Wallaby or an All Black, the rosters are completely made up, the player likenesses are incorrect, and the uniform isn't official, just like mine.
For purist rugby fans, this is terrible news. I mean, what's the point if you can't play as your favourite player?
Especially for a World Cup that only happens every 4 years.
Well, there is a rugby challenge game coming out in September which has licensed the teams for New Zealand and Australia, but it doesn't have the licenses for the teams included in this game or the World Cup tournament.
Well, we had the briefest of looks at Rugby Challenge, and on the surface it looks like it has better graphics and quite different gameplay, so we might take a closer look at that in the next couple of weeks. And despite all the bad stuff, Rugby World Cup is actually quite fun once you start getting into the matches, and it all works fine, but it just didn't feel like a complete game, so I'm giving it 5 out of 10 rubber chickens.
I had fun as well, Hex, and the game isn't too bad if you're playing with friends. I think if you're a die-hard Rugby Union fan, then you'll want a bit more complexity than this, but I'm giving it 6 out of 10 rubber chickens. Darren, you seem to know your stuff. Is there a robot rugby team playing this year?
Sadly, no, but I have been busily coaching a professional player. He's going to be very good, and he's well on his way to becoming a Wallaby.
Really? Who is it?
Remember, Goose, it's the eye of the tiger and the thrill of the fight.
Darren, I'm from Melbourne. We play AFL, so I don't really know the rules. You're going to have to explain them.
Let's start with tackling practice. He fakes left. He thinks about faking left, but I thought about him thinking about faking left. Ha ha! I predicted that too. Nice goose step, Goose.
Darren.
This is called a ruck.
Darren, can you please get off?
It's the only way you'll learn.